Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. On this one, we're going to be installing the Ross head drain on the RB25 forged engine build for the R32 Skyline. Going to help us with all the oil draining issues of the RB. Stay tuned for some helpful tips.
Tell me, is it whack up in the air? Rappers scattered off the gear. I can map him, get it, yeah. It's like a tracker, get distracted, send him back like in the mail. Not a fraction of them real. Catch him like and run the drill. Running through the shit like a motherfucking dage.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is definitely a really good mod to do if you've got an RB25 or any RB really, because RBs, as most people know by now, they have issues with getting the oil back out of the head. So if you're not familiar, basically this is an RB25. We've got the forged block here, all assembled from Kamikaze Motorsports. Thank you very much to Hayden for assembling the engine, and all the parts for this have been supplied by Kudos Motorsports, and same with the head drain that we're going to be installing. Everything's been supplied by Kudos. Thank you to those guys for the freaking awesome support, all the helpful tips, recommendations, and price wise, if you guys head over to Kudos Motorsports, they'll help you out. Freaking legends. Definitely hit them up if you're going to do something similar to this. Basically, this is the RB25 block. It has obviously there's a sump at the bottom with a pickup. The oil pump pumps the oil up through the engine, and it squirts out the top where that little gold or copper little insert there, where you can see there's one there and there, and they spray the oil up into the head, which is this section of the engine, where you've got your cams and everything. Squirts up that much oil that it's too much. It can't get it out fast enough. There's a few options to help this. One of the easiest ways is to restrict the oil flow. So there's a couple little reducers in there that you can get from Kudos, and then you can also put a drain, an extra drain on the head to get the oil back out into the sump. And then this is the little digger here. This one is from Ross Performance Parts. You can get any head drain you want, but this one's really nice and black, and it's just nice and simple, so I really like this one. All it is a fitting that's got a freaking awesome look to it, eh? So nice and fancy. Anodized black, and it's got obviously a filter in there to stop any shit coming out, but hopefully there's no shit in the engine. So basically you knock this Welsh plug out, get that out, and then it will leave you with a hole. This pops straight in the hole, and then what we're going to have to do is drill 2 holes into the head. This is alley, so it's nice and soft, but it's definitely probably going to be the most risky thing I've ever done on an engine, because we're drilling into the head. There's a couple things that can go wrong, but it's not that complicated, it's not that hard. Basically all we're doing is drilling 2 holes that are you're going to drill a 5mm hole with a 5mm drill bit. Obviously, I'm going to take my time with this because you don't want to stuff up the threads. So you're going to need a few tools here. You're going to have to mark it with a pen, get a center punch, either like a nail like this or a proper center punch. Punch your hole so that you can use a small drill bit first to get the perfect to get it perfectly drilled right in the center, and then you're going to drill with your 5mm drill bit. Make sure they're both sharp, and then you need a 6mm tap, so it's handy to have the actual tool here to spin it. You can put in a drill and put it on the lower setting onto 1. Definitely would recommend Makita. You can use any drill, but Makita is the bee's knees. Put it on lower setting and you can use a drill, but definitely increases your risk of damaging something. So the other way is to use some adjustable spanner on the end of there and just turn it. You want to do a couple of turns one way and then back half a turn to like remove the swarf back. You'll see when I do it. But basically we also need a punch or a screwdriver or something to knock this head drain out, and then we can install it. There's also this other fitting here that screws into it, and then that gives you clearance away from the gearbox. So if you could imagine the head sitting on top of the block there, there's going to be a bell housing and a gearbox shoved on the back there. So you don't want to have it pointing down. Obviously that's a bad idea. You're not going to be able to get your line on there because we're going to attach a hose onto here. And you want it to be somewhere like that. I'm going to try and purposely drill the holes because these are slotted holes on this. So it does give you a little bit of play there, but I'm going to purposely drill them in a way where that's like going to be the maximum that way, but the holes will allow you to get clearance to bring it up this way. So I'm aiming for about there to clear the gearbox, and yeah, so we're going to attach a line on here with an AN fitting, and we're going to have a hose, a nice hose coming down, and it will go into the sump. The sump will bolt on the bottom of the block, and we're going to weld in 2 fittings on another episode into the sump. So since the sump's off the car, it's definitely a good idea to upgrade with some fittings supplied by Kudos Motorsports. You can get these weld-in AN fittings. You just drill a hole, preferably somewhere high, so that when it drains in, it's going to have time, like space basically. If you put it down the bottom, it's not going to be able to drain in properly because it's going to be oil down there. So I'm going to put 2 of these in there. One is going to be for the head drain, and one is going to be for the catch can. And I'm not upgrading the sump because I'm basically a tight ass. The sumps are like $1,000. I'm just running with a stock one because I already have one, and it's a good upgrade to do. You get more oil volume in there, so you're not going to get it like run your sump dry, and that's always bad. But I don't know, I'm just going to run the stock sump. I've just chosen to do that. It's a cheaper option. If you got the money, go with the aftermarket one for sure. What else was I going to say? The other thing you'll need is we're going to drill a hole into the head and then thread a screw into it. So there's potential for a leak here, for oil leaks. So you're going to want some thread sealant to go on the thread. I don't have that with me, but I can put that on later. And yeah, you're going to want that so you don't get a leak. Not that it should leak. There's a couple ways you could drill your holes. You could drill like most of the way in, but not all the way. But I'm gonna drill all the way through. Then I feel like that's the way you're supposed to do it. The screws that come with it are like long enough to go all the way through, and that way you can tighten it properly. And yeah, you could try and drill it like not all the way through and still have enough thread, or cut the bolt down so it's not as long. But then if you drill most of the way and you don't know how far you've gone, you could have a weak point. It could somehow break off and then go in your engine. I don't know. I'm just going to be knocking this out, putting a rag in there. The good thing is that it's off the engine, like it's off the block, so I don't have to worry about swarf going down in the engine, in the galleries there. So I'm going to take this plastic off, get a vacuum in there, put a rag in there while I drill it, and then pull it out and get the swarf out as much as possible. Just be really careful and go over it a lot to vacuum it out. So you will need a vacuum. Thanks for the $20 Dyson vacuum off Marketplace, you legendary. You already knew I got it off Marketplace, didn't ya? So this is the head drain. Let's get into a time lapse. I'm just gonna run it and I'll see you back here when it's all done. Also, like, comment and subscribe.
If you had the chance, would you take it? I've run so far, but been patient. Times have changed, but stayed patient. Sold drugs like a dog to my patients. If you had the talent, would you make it? Probably not, cause let's face it, talent's not what it takes to be famous these days. It is all created. People wanna know how I did what I did, but I just did me until I won. Say you wanna move like a king, but don't know shit, still living like a bum. Said he wanna move with a team, but he got a reputation for being dumb. Asked if he can leave with a pin, come back and pay for it when he's done. Look, if you don't have the cash up front, then please don't come where I stay. It's what they would say to pour out J, they're cold in the pouring rain. Then cry when crime comes to their place, cause we need dimes to pay. For the drugs they're giving away, kinda funny how the cycle's working, hey. I'm just trying to make it out, I'm sick of playing this game. I'm sick of writing it out on the same old fucking page. Just to get a name for myself, I'm sick of scripts with my name on them. Just just to handle my health. It really is a shame that they won't care till it's about bands and Louis V belts. That's why I'm here working on wealth. I'm who they fear, they chose someone else. Now I'm coming in and I'm about to ring bells. I'm making it clear there's nobody else. Shut up you queer, buy me a beer, cause I got here with nobody's help. If you had the chance, would you take it? I've run so far, but been pacing. Times have changed, but stayed patient. Sold drugs like a doctor, my patience. If you had the talent, would you make it? Probably not, cause let's face it, talent's not what it takes to be famous these days, it is all created. I'm numb to the pain nowadays, cause of that hole she left. It's a bump with the pain, straight to my brain, that's how I'm coping with stress. I try to refrain.
Okay, so that was bloody terrifying. When I started drilling into the soft alley, it's so bloody soft by the way, incredibly soft. My drill bit started walking off to the side, and I was like, you little shitter. And that's partly because the bench isn't very stable, it moves a little bit, partly because I didn't have the drill exactly straight, partly because the main part is my drill bit is blunt as shit, and I was just sending it. It's only 5mm drill bit I had, so yeah. Note to self, next time, and a tip for you guys, a red hot tip from James Nolland: get a brand new drill bit to drill into something really important. But anyway, my holes are off a little bit, which is not ideal at all. I tapped them anyway, because once I started, there's no going back. You could weld it and fill the hole and then drill it again, or you could put a helicoil in, but that's not going to help you anyway. These slotted holes on the actual head drain, all I did was just drill out a little bit to line up where my holes are. It's actually disgusting. I'll show you. Yeah, so it's actually like really bad, especially this one. It's quite off to the side. This one here, only a little bit there to make it work, but really not ideal. It does. I can still get a little bit of rotation out of it if I want to. I've tested the screws in there and they work, but yeah, just probably a pretty important tip. Make sure you get a brand new drill bit. It will help you. And yeah, ideally you want to be drilling anything in a drill press, but when you got a whole engine to drill and a drill press that drills down, it's a little bit difficult. So yeah, it's possible to do it with a hand drill. It's just the drill bit was blunt as, and it walked off to the side. But yeah, end of the day, it's done now. Thank you. Thank fuck for that. That's pretty scary. The swarf going into the engine, I had a vacuum cleaner here with a little nozzle on it that I found just kicking around. I think it's off like a funnel that you get from like Super Cheap Auto. That fit in there really well, but because the head's off the engine, the only thing that's really scary is getting swarf in to where the what do you call it? I just vacuumed out as much as I could. There's nothing in there now, 100%. There's nothing in there now, and it's completely cleaned out. So now I've just got to get some thread sealer to put on there, and probably some you can get some like shit to put on this O-ring so that it like seals nicely, and then tie her off, and then she's done. And then that was all I needed to do before putting the head onto the block. So we'll just lay the head gasket on there and drop the head on there, tighten it down. It'll be a long block, but I'm gonna save that for the next episode. Thanks for watching this one. I hope you've seen how it's done and how not to do it. I'm pretty pissed about that. It sucks, but anyway, you won't see it. It's at the back of the engine. It's gonna seal. It doesn't look too bad. There's no damage anywhere, so it's gonna work anyway. Just nicely. It would have been nicer and save a lot of time if the holes were just straight, you know? Anyway, thanks for watching. Like the video, drop a comment below, and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Now to put the engine together. This is a really exciting bit. Also forgot to mention that I cleaned the floor in this section and set up a temporary bench there. That's why it was rocking. I need to build like a proper bench and put some wheels on it and make it out of steel and weld it together so that it can flow around this area, so I can use this for working on the Skyline, but we got the forward facing plenum there, the turbo, some bits and pieces so that we can assemble this engine coming right up. I do need to get the injectors cleaned because they're the original, never been cleaned. I need to get some braided lines to make them work a bit better. They're not quite right for that setup. And yeah, then we can just chuck it all on and hook it up. Need to weld that sump, and then that's pretty much the engine done, I think. I'm pretty sure.